We beg people, be reconciled to God. God is actually the beggar. It says he makes the appeal through us. The divine sovereign work of reconciliation is not apart from the faith of the sinner, and we are beggars. I can't get past this point, honestly. I can't, because my heart, I think, is stopping me, maybe more than my head. 50 years ago, I played football. 50 years ago, I had a coach that I, man to man, really cared for. He was the best coach I ever had, high school or college days. His name was Jim Brownfield. He's a legend in Southern California, an absolute legend. He coached at every level of football, high school, junior college, small college. Coached with John McKay at USC. Great coach, genius, ahead of his time. I played for him 50 years ago. We'd implemented Chicago Bears offense. We were way ahead. We were a West Coast pass offense, completely out of our time. He was innovative, he was creative, and I cared about him. I remember we were flying up to San Francisco to play football against the University of San Francisco, and I was sitting next to him on the plane, and I took that opportunity to communicate the gospel with all my heart to him. And I was close to the coach because I was, calling the plays and all of that. And we had a great affection for each other. But he rejected the gospel. That's 50 years ago. Through the years, I had opportunity to be with him here and there, maybe at a golf tournament or some kind of function. And he watched my ministry. He watched my life. And he used to tell people that he coached me. But every time I was with him, I tried to talk to him about the Lord. He'd say, I respect that. I respect you. I'm not interested. And I felt like I was always begging him, Coach, this is the most important thing you'll ever do. He never married because he wanted to live his life his way. And he did. He ingratiated himself to so many athletes and so many people as a coach. Well, it was last summer. I got a phone call. No, take it back. Last April, I got a phone call. You better go visit your coach. He's dying in the hospital. This is 50 years later. He's had heart problems. They've tried to do surgery to save him. He wants to see you. He wants to see me? So I went to the hospital, stood in the hall. He's wired. He's got 15 things going in. The nurse says to me, he hasn't moved for 3 days. We haven't seen any motion, so I can't promise anything. So I walk in the room. I reach out my hand, I take hold of his hand. He's got a board on it to hold all the needles. I just took hold of his hand and I said, hey, Coach, it's Johnny Mack. He opened his eyes and smiled. I said, Coach, one more time, can I beg you to be reconciled to God? Coach, you are the thief on the cross. You have no future. This has to be your time. Has to be your time. Will you open your heart to Christ? His head went like up and down. And he grabbed my hand, started squeezing, and he reached his other arm over and grabbed my other hand. So he's got me in a lock grip. The nurse comes in and says, sir, you'll have to let go of him. I said, I'm not holding on to him. He is holding on to me. I was a beggar all those years, begged down to the last hour. Well, while we were praying, while I was praying the Lord would save him, and the Lord saved him in a wonderful way. The evidence was clear. His brother walked in the room, was a Christian, broke into tears and fell on his bed and embraced him, and I told him what happened, and he got better. I came back to see him in a week. He's sitting in a wheelchair. with a trach in, and he's got issues, but he writes me a note. He's got a little letter board, and he starts spelling out, what can I do for my Savior? I said, Coach, you can't do anything for him. He's done everything for you. He doesn't need your help. He'll be okay. This is your time for him to do for you. Friday I'm going to do his funeral. He had one request. He wanted all the coaches, all the athletes ever played for him to come to Brookside Golf Course in LA. He wants them all to get together in the ballroom, and he wants me to come and tell the testimony that he could never give of what Christ did in his life, and to make sure everybody gets the gospel. You know, look, I'm so glad I went that day down to the hospital. I'm so glad one last time I begged him. And don't ever let your theology of the sovereignty of God move you away from the fact that the sinner has responsibility to respond, and we need to beg sinners.